Three.
It's
Oh,
a
God.
Hotline League episode 183. I'm joined by three people. Two people. I can't even count. It's because I said 183 and then my mind went to three. I'm having a Monday.
You're drunk on a Monday.
So the Mondays.
What's very exciting is I found out just moments ago because I've got jury duty this week and I don't have to report in tomorrow. And while I believe in doing my civic duty, it would have required us moving the Rift Reaction show around if I had to do that, and that would have been very inconvenient for some people. So
A criminal's going to be on the loose because of you.
I don't know if that's how jury duty works.
Wait, you're skipping jury duty?
No, you don't have to report. So what you do is have you ever gotten it before, Mark?
I got it a bunch of times, but it was in Massachusetts. I've never done California jury duty.
Yeah, so this you go on. They're like, keep your entire week free, and then check at 7 o'clock the night before, and we'll let you know if you have to show up. So all week long, I have to I'm in this weird limbo state, and then I find out. Anyway, this is Hotline League. If any of you weren't familiar, and it's brought to you by Alienware and Mountain Dew Game Fuel, which I am drinking.
Do you not like CLG?
What?
This little man's got a problem with CLG. He's eating CLG. Hey,
podcast listeners.
give Brox a back.
Mark has an animal that's attacking his CLG hoodie.
You're so cute, though. You become such a good kitty. He was a really shitty kitty for a little bit, but now he's a good kitty.
Yeah, well, is he better than the last time I interacted with him?
Oh, much better.
Okay. Because it doesn't look like he is based off what's going on.
No, this is much better.
All right. Anyway, Mark, how you been?
Pretty good. Just came back from the dive. You will see it's an interesting episode. I highly recommend everyone checks it out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Nice.
I +1 that.
Were you on it, Raz?
I was not on it, but I saw some things.
Oh, no.
Was Kobe on it, Mark?
No, Kobe was not on it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know he was out of town this past week, and he came in. I didn't know if he got in time to be on the show, so... Do you guys have are you able to say if you have a guest or if it's just you and Azale sitting there?
It's one other person. It's Freak. Freak is the kind of usual stand-in. He's there.
Okay, well, the week you were there, Freak was not there. Or you weren't there. Freak was not there. There was
the time I wasn't there and Freak was there too. Let's just move on. All right?
I'm taking
He's investigating. He's an
investigative
journalist, okay?
I'm taking an interest in your life, Mark. Mark,
he's an investigative content creator, not a journalist. That way he doesn't have any ethical standards to hold himself up to.
Mark, I'm trying to ask you about how you're doing. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Just yeeted a cat off me. I'm doing great.
What's been going on in your life?
I don't know, to be honest. Hey, Raz, how you been doing, dude? Welcome to the show. What's going on in your life,
At the start of every
Raz?
episode, I try to ask Mark what's been going on in his life. And we've done this for 182 episodes, and on the 183rd, he's taken great offense to it and is rapidly trying to move away from it. So
every time I'm here, I just see a relationship issue between both of you guys. That's just the case.
You ever build something together and then, it's like you're committed to the thing, and so you're only together to see that thing through, but you're not actually, there's no more love. You
guys are a step away from divorce.
Once Hotline League is old enough for college and it's not in the home
true.
anymore,
everybody does
we're
this.
Splitting. Everybody
does this. Yeah, we've been doing it for I think 4 years now. I think 4. I think we started.
This is the longest league show ever made. I don't know if that's true.
No, the dive is longer. The dive's been 5 years.
Oh, you know what? You're right. But the dive cheats because it has change of people, mainly Jap for me, but yeah.
True. Raz, how are you doing?
Well, much better now that I saw this comment from Monster A Shoe that says, "What the fuck? Mark has lashes on." And I just didn't notice up until this point.
You didn't notice we talked about this before the start of the show.
I mean, I could tell the makeup, generally speaking, but not the lashes. The moment
that's the only thing I noticed was the lashes. The rest of it is just like broadcast makeup.
Oh my goodness. I did not see that coming.
Onto the light. Hold on, it's blocking the light.
Whoosh, 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 whoosh. This man is flying.
You know, I actually have very long lashes as well. It's just you can't. Yeah, well, they're not fake. Continue.
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm doing alright, doing well. Another work week came through, end of season, which is fun. Now we get to go into all-star voting and all these things, and I get to make fun of someone's ballot once they come out, because
Yes.
there's always going to be one person that's like, Jose Diodo is the best jungler, and you're like, where did this? Oh, it's it's a Latin American journalist. so I just so I'm waiting for stuff like that.
I have not submitted my ballot yet. Mark, are you able to say if you submitted yours?
I haven't done it yet.
So, what's great is, and this has happened on previous Hotline Leagues as well, you callers, you the audience of Hotline League, you have the argument. I'm not saying that like we're going to vote based off of what you tell us, but you can convince us of certain things, like so and so deserves MVP, so and so deserves rookie, so and so deserves, I don't know, best.
They would need a
Maybe it's
damn
Jose
good
Diodo.
defense to unseat our opinions. And judging by the show that I've been on consistently, I have not been hearing good opinions or defenses.
No, sometimes
the defenses.
the
The
Game
takes
Fuel
are
Victory
great.
callers are usually
Okay.
pretty good.
I
Well,
mean,
the takes are usually good, and then you dive into the conversation, and then it's the backpedaling.
The show gets a lot of flack, but I actually think everybody's like, oh, all the callers are bad. We usually have one or two callers every episode that are like way out there, and then everybody pretends like that's the way most of them are. Whereas a lot of times people are like the criticism people should levy is that sometimes these are more like Luke takes than they are hot. But
I would also say,
oh, go ahead, Mark.
oh, I don't know if you saw the Fudge interview where he said that the MVP voters are not intelligent.
I did. I actually did an interview with him about that.
Did he expand on it?
Did he expand?
Yes.
Are you gonna
Did
do
he
that
say-
thing where you say watch the video instead of just telling us so we can have a conversation about what the expansion is?
Well, the problem is I don't remember entirely what he said. I don't want to paraphrase it because I haven't rewatched it yet.
Okay.
And so I don't want to put
I
any
will
words in
attempt
his mouth.
to guess what his answer was. Only certain people are unintelligent. Mark and Raz are really smart with their voting, but there's a lot of other questionable people.
There we go. I think you know what? I think that's exactly what he said.
It sounds right to me in my heart.
In fact, I think I remember hearing that. I was walking down the street. Maybe I was right next to Travis's apartment, and maybe I heard that coming out of the window. So I can confirm that.
Raz,
Yeah.
we always try to say, what have you been up to? And you talked mostly about the league stuff, but how are things going with you personally?
I mean, personally, it's fine. I don't think I have much of a personal life. A lot of it comes down to COVID, right? So it's just like work. Then I stay here and play some games. And
What
then
are you
I
playing?
go on Twitter and shit talk. So I'm playing The World's Ends with You, Neo. And also, right after that, because I purchased the other game, which was Ace Attorney Chronicles. Because Capcom is notoriously bad at localizing games from that series. And so finally they've opened the door on that one, but I'm still waiting for the Perfect Prosecutor game. So, it is what it is.
I appreciate one of the things I think I've said this about. Oh, I need to move the sub thing. One of the things I think I've said previously that I appreciate about you, Raz, is that you're one of the few people I feel like besides myself that just plays video games that are not Path of Exile, World of Warcraft, or League of
Not
Legends.
grindlord or competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Narrative
I'm
I'm getting
experiences
back
are
into
great,
Maple
too.
Story, though. And
Back
that's
to
my child.
Grindlord.
That's
Grindlord
my
it is.
childhood. There we
The
go.
only narrative games I play are like RPGs. I'll play like Octopath Traveler and The Witcher and that kind of stuff, but I'm not good about like the kind of like weird Nintendo shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though I want to be.
Same. I aspire to be to be very into Nintendo shit. Okay, anyway, now that we've had our fun little discussion in the beginning of the show, this is a big episode because we are now officially done with regular season, which kind of felt like a bit of a slog to me, although it was very exciting. But man, just nine
Exciting
weeks.
slog.
It was an exciting slog. It's just like, now we're ready to finally see what's going to happen in playoffs. And you know what I think it is like we had spring And because spring was shortened, it made summer split feel very long. But we're here at the playoffs time, and it's exciting. We also have some eliminated teams, CLG and FlyQuest. I'm sure we can get a take in at least for each of those. We had a reprieve from talking about CLG, but I now know that we'll have to have at least one caller probably to talk about that. And
I love that call. Let's do more of those.
there's some fun drama.
Punching down.
There's some fun drama that took place with the 100 Thieves Academy stuff, which I'm sure somebody will call in to either
Already got one lined up for that.
excuse it or say it's
I
wrong.
know.
Okay, and we're going to do something a little unconventional. I would like to, Raz and Mark, have you guys seen the clip that I put out about Peter Dunn yet?
Yep.
No.
Okay, Raz, you didn't? Okay. I'm going to play it on stream. Raz, I'm just going to link it to you on my Twitter so that you can, or I guess you can watch it on the stream, whatever.
Yeah, I'll watch it on the stream.
But I did an interview with Peter Dunn where he said something very interesting, and I really like it. I feel like it sets up the stakes for playoffs. Maybe you guys will rain down on it and say it's a bad take, but we're going to go ahead and play this clip from a Peter Dunn interview that I posted earlier today. You can watch the full one on my YouTube channel, but catch you in a second.
Well, it's interesting because I think this split, you're seeing kind of like a battle for, how should I say, for the soul of the LCS, right? In that these old traditional teams, TL, Cloud9, TSM,
yeah.
when you think about them, what do you think, right? You think about TL and TSM being super passive, scaling teams that like allow the enemy team to play into them, right? I mean, TL had a win today against us, but how was the game played? It was when they had a 4K lead, they were still waiting for us to make mistakes. Cloud9 are the exception. Cloud9 are the team that play the proactive, aggressive style. They're not doing the best right now, but I'm sure they'll be fine by playoffs. And if you play that kind of defensive, reactive style and you go internationally, you will go 0-6 in groups, or you will you're just going to lose, right? Like you can play to scale as long as you are better individually than the opponent you're against. And so for me, the question is the region as a whole good enough where teams playing aggressive League of Legends can win and go and represent NA in North America in international tournaments and have a shot against these top teams? Or are we just going to send 3 teams that want to scale into the late game and have them lose to the Chinese and the Korean teams when they go to Shanghai? Right? I mean that's the reality of where we are right now. So for me, I'm sure that people think about these strong teams, these teams, and TL, C9, and TSM have that legacy for a reason, right? But it's up to us to show that there are other ways to play the game and there are other ways to win. And I hope that we can do it. But I think that even no matter what happens, I hope that TL and TSM and Cloud9 can learn from what we're doing to understand it is possible to play that different style. And if they don't learn those lessons, if they go and we don't, it's going to be the same as it is every single year. But I think EG are well equipped to handle international competition right now, provided we do okay in laning phase. It's hard to tell. You can never judge the laning phase issues. But the macro in the mid game, I'm pretty happy with where we are right now.
Peter. Okay, so I really like that as like a conversation starter. I'm not saying I necessarily agree with it or disagree, but I wanted to have a brief conversation about it here, and I'm hoping because one of the things is like narratively it sets up this really cool situation. I don't want to steal the LEC old guard versus new guard or new old kings new kings type thing, but I almost kind of feel like Peter's putting a stake in the ground kind of like as a campaign thing where he's like, listen, cheer for EG.
Change you want to see.
Yeah. Cheer for EG. Peter Dunn, the Bernie Sanders of the. Maybe I shouldn't. I should be careful. A lot of people in our audience have differing opinions there, but regardless, he's like pushing back against the establishment and is trying to get people to care about EG and why he thinks like they are the better candidate to go to Worlds. Now, obviously, this is not a voting thing. It's not like we all vote for which teams are going to Worlds every year. But I think it's cool because I like the stakes that he's laying out there for the teams as we head into playoffs and why people might need or maybe should want to see 100T and EG go through instead of TL, C9, or TSM. He gave some credit to C9, I think, for perhaps playing a little bit more proactively. But I'm kind of curious from both of you, And maybe, hopefully, somebody in the chat right now is furiously typing some sort of take about why he's either right or wrong or something. But I'm curious, Mark and Raz, what your take is on what Peter said.
You want to go first? Should I, Raz?
Yeah, go for it.
I think it's something that myself and a lot of people have felt for a while about NA teams. You know, being these defensive teams who mostly just want to
Mark holding his headphones off, listening to something.
sorry, I heard some sorry, I just heard music start somewhere. I'll go investigate in a
Okay,
second.
never mind.
I felt like I was losing my mind. But like, yeah, I think there's been a number of times where the top team in North America was able to largely not play super proactively, and kind of just skill check the other teams and win through that. Not like they were totally bad. I don't want to just like shit on every champion before, but I think a lot of their stuff was reactive and punishing mistakes, and you can't do that at the highest level when you start going up against the best teams in the world, and that's why they start to struggle more. Even sometimes teams that I would say seemed proactive in North America, whether it's the pressure of the moment or the other teams or whatever it is, they end up being less proactive.
This reminds me of the video we have on the channel of you ranting last year about the TSM, the what was it, the tower dive or something like that, where you're just frustrated.
That one, TSM 2016 in summer, was actually like super proactive. I think I'm getting the right year. I think it's 2016. They were super proactive in NA. They would always dive bot and play around double if it was sick. But then like when they went to Worlds, they just seemed to not be able to get the priority that they're used to getting in North America to just go bot lane 24/7, and they didn't really have many other options. And so like a team like EG, who is more down to just fight shit, will never not do anything. I don't think there's a world where like I'd be like, oh man, because EG is losing laning phases, which Peter didn't even talk about there a little bit, that they're suddenly not going to make plays. I think that they still will. His point is more just that like, hey, we might get slammed in lane. It'll make us look a lot worse than our actual playstyle issues.
Really quickly before we throw to Raz, I'm curious, Mark, do you think 100T also belongs in this EG category?
I'm not. I think that they're different. It feels weird because I feel like 100 Thieves have played a couple different playstyles over the course of this year, and in the last couple weeks have looked their worst, and so it makes me a little hesitant to be like, what is, if we send 100 Thieves, am I worried that they're all just going to stay in their lanes and not do anything and lose? Like, maybe actually. I would be a little concerned about that.
All right. Raz, what do you think about what Peter said and what Mark said, I guess?
I mean, I agree with him, or at least with Peter on the sentiment of playing too passively, right? I think you need to have points within your draft that you can actually fight and play around early. Like, and I think one point that he did mention that I don't think is a problem is like there was the game that he had versus Team Liquid in which they had like a 4K goal lead and they just basically played slow and choked enemy out. And I think like that's one thing to point out. Like LPL teams, if they're behind, they will find angles to scrap. So it's like you still have to be ready to fight, or at least like take fights if they force you on something. So like that's something that we're probably gonna have to talk about when Worlds comes about. That if a team has a lead, they need to be able to actually do something with it, push enemy team a little bit more aggressively. But that being said, so I'm not too concerned about 100 Thieves on that mark. I actually think that 100 Thieves are in the same frame of mind when it comes to Cloud9 and Evil Geniuses. I think they're an aggressive team. They tried out a lot of shit during the season, but I just think naturally they're a team that wants to play a lot more loose. I think they're worse at that than Cloud9. I think my biggest issue with 100 Thieves is that has been more around their decision making. If things go bad in a 100 Thieves game, it's almost like they're guaranteed to go worse because they don't know when to cut their losses and then just play from behind. They'll just double down and it'll get worse. They'll try and save each other off of it and they'll die. And it's like, okay, this could have just been one lost camp, but it just turned into a larger fight. Now you've lost even harder. That's like literally my biggest thing is just decision making when things don't go their way initially. Like that, I've said that at the beginning of the split, and it literally happened in their TSM game. So I don't want to go in too in depth until someone else comes up with a take on that one with
Sure.
100 Thieves. But like, so like I think if the league is won by TL and TSM, yes, that'd be problematic. But TSM is not even that bad as they were in the past. Like they're literally not the same TSM whatsoever in terms of playing slow. Like Sword Art will hard force fights. Huni is constantly like giving if statements on like, hey, if they fight here, then we'll like, he's definitely incredibly aggressive. So and the team does not play around, and maybe that changes in playoffs necessarily like around Power of Evil's win con. Maybe that changes. Who knows? Because the meta just did change towards control mages now. But yeah, I'm not concerned at all of what Peter's concerned of like LCS being the slow play meta going into Worlds. They will just be the worst teams. That's just going to be the reality.
I feel like, I mean, so TSM's not like they sit back and just scale and do nothing. Like Hooney's gonna play aggressive, Spica makes things happen in the early game. But I think it's all comparative. I think is like the point for me is not that they don't do anything, but
Yeah.
compared to LPL teams and more aggressive teams, TSM is not at that level. And I think that's more Peter's point, which is hyperbolically, we say they sit back and do nothing. But when you watch their games, yes, of course, TSM is doing things. But I think it's the idea of risk management. And other than Hooney, TSM actually has, and maybe Sword Art, they have pretty low tolerance for risk. Like, they're not going to like 50-50 things insanely hard.
Yep. I'd agree with that.
Yeah. And same with TL. So it's not like these guys don't do anything. But like a lot of the times, if a fight doesn't look on their terms already, they might not take it. Than Spica and Hooney. I mean, like Spica fights, but I don't think Spica's just like he's not Blabber in terms of like Blabber's gonna kill himself on Scuttlecrab. Spica's smarter than that, and that's credit to Spica. That's not a knock against him for people saying like worried about that. I'm just saying that play style wise, like they're not gonna flip things generally.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, we will see. But I do like the idea that this sort of sets the stage for playoffs as we head into it, and I think is going to be an interesting thing to see. The other thing I want to bring up, Mark, if we don't have a take, do we have a take yet about top laner or Fudge/Impact stuff at all?
I haven't pulled that many takes yet because we're talking about this stuff. This is a relatively involved first thing that you started us off.
No, it's fair. The other thing here's what I will say. I'll throw this out there as bait for people who want to get on the show. I would love to have a conversation about Impact versus Hooney versus Fudge, because I see people so die hard in these different camps where like some people are like, so Peter Dunn in that same interview, obviously very biased, the coach, said that there's the biggest gap in the LCS between first and second in terms of role is between Impact and everybody else in top lane. And then I've seen a lot of people, and it seems like Raz has a strong opinion about it, say like actually Hooney's way better, or say Fudge is way better, and people seem to be very, very strongly divided about this stuff. And so I want to I think it'll be a good discussion, because I think it's rare that I see so many people so strongly in the camp of this type of thing. So if anybody has a take on that, Mark, I'm sure will be pulling those and looking for them for a while. Okay. But while we wait, and while
real quick, just to hop in to finish my thoughts on this, I wanted to highlight this point a little bit more. Again, about the proactivity and the amount of action that happens in the game. TSM is the second lowest in combined kills per minute in the league right now. Okay, so even by North American standards, from some of these other teams, they're not taking that many fights. They're not being that risky. Whereas Golden Guardians, a team that like runs it sometimes, is high up there. E.g., Dig, Fly, some of these teams. So they're at 0.71 combined kills per minute. LPL, I can't. They're all higher. Literally, the entire league has a higher combined kills per minute than TSM. The lowest is 0.74. The high end is 0.93. LEC, same thing. No one is that low. 0.73 is the lowest. 1 is the highest. So when we're talking about proactivity and risk management, and as Invert in the chat was talking about, like coin flipping is also not necessarily the same thing as proactivity. There is a bit of distinction in these different categories, but just in terms of the amount of action that they are taking is lower on a global scale. And that is what Peter is talking about. For people who don't believe this, I don't know what to tell you. Team Liquid is at 0.73. They are also on the low end. This is the point. When you look globally, it's not that these teams are bad. It's not that they don't make plays and there's zero proactivity in their games. They know how to make leads. But when you compare them to the speed of the game that the rest of the top teams in the world play at, they are slower. I mean, the only other region that really compares is LCK. And that is a notoriously slow league as well.
What is the lowest in the LCS? You said it's second to lowest, right?
So the lowest is CLG, and it's just 0.7 versus 0.71. But CLG is just like they can't win. Like they're really bad, so they're just not finding fights that they can win.
Yeah,
makes sense. I mean, this has always been like the case in terms of relative to. It's like the absolute versus relative. Like relative to LPL, they will always be slower, and they will always be more risk management. And so, like, do I think that's ever going to change? No. It's based off competition. That's not going to change. You're not going to have like teams like FlyQuest Academy. FlyQuest Academy, by the way, when I say academy, when they brought up their academy team for the LCS, they were just so bad in the first 10 minutes in their own laning phase. But they were still a team that had like a great mindset about like, if we're behind, we really like looking ahead, talking about like when, like how to take a fight to get back into the game to claw in, and knowing what's the perfect time of doing so. Like these are things that more and more teams should just be doing. But if you're just not challenged, then there's no need to play a faster game. When I say need, like need in the LCS. And so every time a team goes to an international event, they learn the lesson mid-event, and you're like, we need to play faster. We need to like have these basically like fail-safe points within our draft. And then the lesson is like, man, this is just the way we need to play when go back to the LCS. Then they go back to the LCS, and you have like about 3 months in which it's like, we don't need to do this shit.
Yeah, they're like, we can just go back to winning this way. Oh, God. So someone in chat, I'm sorry to flame this person, but Down for Cards says, these are bad stats too because PoE doesn't play assassins and Huni usually just split pushes. No, you're looking at it backwards. That's our point, is that the whole meta for the majority of this split was melee assassins and like aggressive champions in the mid lane. It's only slowed down in the last couple of weeks, but they were never good at that style. They don't win with Lucian. They don't win with melee assassins generally. They win with control mages, and that's his style. And that's the point, is that like when you go internationally and someone's picking this aggressive shit and leaving your lane and diving bottom and being in weird places, like you have to be ready for that. And that's the point.
I mean, at the very least, here's the TSM copium, I feel like, which is, it's good for TSM that teams like EG exist in the league, right? Because like to both of your points, if historically the LCS has played too slow and all the teams are playing this way, then what Raz was just saying is like you go and you start scrimming these teams when you go off to Worlds or MSI and like, whoa, these guys are doing crazy stuff. And so, maybe the TSM fans should be happy that a team like EG exists, or that Golden Guardians or FlyQuest, exists, as perhaps as ironic as that may seem, because they are forcing fights and being more proactive, which is more in line with what they should expect to see from, at the very least, LEC and LPL competition at Worlds. So it's always a good thing when we have different play styles, yeah?
Everything will change once the boot camps start coming up. I feel like literally every time the boot camp starts from any team, even G2, like G2 when they went as far as the finals, they're like, yep, we're getting stomped by the Asian teams. Got to change as much as we can and basically like frame everything to what they need to do. So at least from that perspective, I'm not concerned, though it is a good time to literally start during the season. So it is what it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have taken as much liberty as we can with our pre-call segment, so it's time to get into some callers.
Let's do it.
First one?
Yeah, let's go
grab
right
our
to first
it.
one.
Do it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to Casey Clark, Jaegerbomb, Stoner Mall, D9 for gifting 5 subs, The Real Divert, who says, for the 6 months, Count 001, Sobriquitter, is that it? Oh, and Bluejay is here. Bluejay, remind everyone where you're calling from.
Hey guys, calling from Ontario. How you guys doing?
Good. Ontario, California?
Yep.
Oh, wow, you moved from
Yeah,
Ontario,
man.
Canada, Ontario, California. What are the
Yeah.
odds of that?
I know.
You're not in Canada?
Okay, Ontario, Canada, yes.
Okay, I was like, oh my
And what do you
goodness.
want to talk about on the show this week?
And what do you want to talk about on the show this week, Bluejay?
Yeah, my take is about the bracket. I think that the playoff bracket being locked is a terrible system, and I think TSM should be able to choose their seed like they have every other year.
Why?
And I'm a little bit puzzled as to why they made the change, honestly.
Okay. I pulled this take for a very specific reason, because there's a reason that this has happened.
Well, wait,
Okay.
I want to hear Bluejay explain before you explain.
Okay, go ahead.
Explain what? Like
why do you think it's bad,
first
Bluejay?
seed, I think the first seed should be able to choose their thing.
As a benefit. You just think that should always be
Yeah.
the perk of being the first seed.
Yeah, I think that I prefer the number one seed being able to choose, and I don't know if this is, well, it seems like it's possible that 100 Thieves now could have thrown their game by putting in their academy squad to get EG on their side of the bracket, knowing where they would be. You know what I'm saying? Like, they knew that they were going to be on the lower part of the upper bracket, and now they were like, well, they could have been. I'm not accusing, I'm not saying one way or the other, but it's possible that they purposely put in their academy squad just so that they got the teams they wanted to face.
Mark?
So there's a couple things to unpack here. There's that whole 100 Thieves situation, which I'm sure we can talk about. But as far as I'm aware, and this was Azael who told this to me, which makes sense when I heard him say it, is in summer 2020, because there was dynamic seeding with a lower bracket, which is what caused Golden Guardians to play TSM twice in their best of fives, almost like back-to-back or whatever it was, because it reseeded, and then they played again. And removing dynamic seeding stops these repeat conflicts from happening because the bracket isn't changing on the fly. And that was the problem that TSM benefited from last time around, was they got to play Golden Guardians again. You could argue if it was a benefit or not, but it feels weird for Golden Guardians, at least, to say, hey, we just beat this team in a best of five and we're playing them again. So, as I understand it, this bracket change was done with the explicit purpose to remove repeat matches from happening and as far as you can in the bracket. Because at that point, there were a lot of teams left that, Golden Guardians hadn't played. So
along with what Mark just said, we have Kamikaze Platypus, who works for Golden Guardians, and I know has worked on some of the format suggestions to Riot previously. Says, I can tell you exactly why the change was made. A fixed bracket is needed to prevent early rematches or erratic bracket, which is what Mark was saying. If number one can choose, it takes massive bracket manipulation to prevent round one winner rematches. And in addition, the reward of being first is that you get to face an easier opponent. The only reason this debate is going on right now is because some people think EG, the rightfully earned third seed, is not actually the third seed in terms of skill.
Yeah,
right,
and
which is potentially why 100 Thieves, maybe 100 Thieves thought that, right? Maybe. I'm not saying they did, not saying they didn't.
Well,
but
yeah,
it's possible.
potentially you could. Or, I mean, in any scenario, right? Yeah.
First and second seed. And I guess you could make the argument, and this is what I said in the dive too, it's like you can maybe make the argument that first and second don't have that much of a difference in their power in the bracket, depending on what else has happened in the bracket in terms of how many good teams there are, whatever. But in theory, you should still be in a better position because you don't have to play what is the third best team usually. So that's not on the bracket's fault. That's just how the league is this time around. Additionally, you only have to win a single fucking best of five to make worlds. You get the bye, and then you get an extra life by getting first or second seed. Like, that's a pretty massive advantage already. So I think it's kind of overblown.
I mean, it's very confusing to me because when I ask players and teams and all this stuff for the past couple of weeks, who are the best teams in the league right now, everyone says TSM and EG. Mm-hmm. And then you end up in a situation where people are like, oh, they're dodging EG, who's supposedly perhaps even the best. I mean, I guess it probably depends on if you're asking a TSM stan or not. But, like, it is a fascinating thing to me in that people are like, they will say EG is the best, but then there's a bunch of people who believe EG is not the best to sort of provoke this conspiracy theory.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Rez.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like for me, the first puzzling thing is like the whole. What I'll start with the 100 Thieves point, which is, I mean, Parth came out with his tweet just saying that they could just be dodging EG because they don't think that they're top team. And if that's like, first of all, that's something you can never verify. But if you literally ask every team, if you even ask like, what's it called? I forget which interview it was. I believe it was Ben, of who the best like teams were. People resoundingly say Evil Geniuses. And when you hear from the fans, and when you hear from like, or you just see the games from Evil Geniuses, it's like, oh, Evil Geniuses are the top 2 team. So for me, that part isn't even an issue. At least from the standpoint of like, is Evil Geniuses a top 2 team? I think the most confusing thing is that we're unsure at the rate of progress that like Cloud9 and Team Liquid are having right now. So like that, you don't know what they're going to be looking like in playoff times. Cloud9 has gotten much better, but I would still say Evil Geniuses is the second team, best team. So like from that perspective, I just think that's like a bullshit point. Dynamic reseeding, like that's another one where I know we already had like that heavy conversation, and I just wonder how much of an advantage do we have to give a first seeded team? Because like what Marcus just said was literally like, yeah, they're one best of 5 away from Worlds. They got an extra bye. They're going up against what would be what's it called? Weaker opponents. Yeah, what could happen is like the typical RNG idea of like a team could just play poorly during the regular season and not have their full roster, and then come in and have everything ready by then. But then like that shit just happens. That's happened every fucking split in LPL. And LPL doesn't have like dynamic reseeding. They have like a pseudo gauntlet in which like all of those fears that he mentioned has always been in place within those systems. So it's one of those things where it's like this kind of mentality is what brought us to making random like massive complaints of the LCK system of the first team, seeded team being put into the finals itself. We at some point we were like, you have such a large advantage already, where it's a slippery slope of this type of conversation. Like that's my main issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. And as they point out in chat as well, they have first if both the 1 and 2 seed win, they have side selection over 2. So
yeah, that was
was
another addition that they had it in from summer split to this last year this year.
It's like I'm not used to this. Yeah, I mean like it's like how much do you want? You're like, do you want to just get seeded into the finals? Like LCK, I'm with you, dude. It's like how much more do you need before it's like just fucking win your best of 5 if you're one of the best teams.
Yeah, I
don't know.
It's funny because somebody, I think, somewhat maybe sardonically in chat was saying like playoff perks is real, or like, some people are like, yeah, but C9 is going to look better and all this stuff. And I'm just like, it's really weird if you create a bracket or like a format where you're like, and we have to plan around the idea that some of our teams just suddenly become way better in playoff. It's just like, it's such a bizarre concept of like.
That's the thing. That will always be the case in literally every league. Like LPL, whenever you get to the final week, depending on which team has really fucked it up during the regular season and is now in form, it's like, okay, then you have at least some power of whether or not you're going to get to like the opponent you want. And your main objective is to just be as good as fucking possible. So when it's playoff time, that you perform with the seed that you are given. Like if you are the first seed, you're given the bye and you're given theoretically like the worst opponent, you just need to perform now. And maybe that's just me coming in from like watching and loving NHL as a kid growing up. I don't watch it as much anymore because I've moved far too much. But watching NBA now and watching the seed that they've had, and for me, what's always mattered is performing during the fucking playoff games with the advantage that you were given. There are always going to be anomalies and things that are thrown your way that you kind of have to get over. Like those are the humps, those are the trials that you have to face. And in this case, the trial it should be theoretically their weaker team. So it's also ironic because TSM last year was the team that was weaker in the regular season, but grew and performed during the playoffs. Like they were the team that, you know, were the intangibles in a sense in comparison, like that C9 and TL are right now. You just can't prepare for that shit. So please just perform in playoffs. That's my. And I
Bluejay,
think
it feels
TSM is a really good team. So I
Bluejay,
think TSM right now is the best team in the league. They shouldn't have to worry.
Bluejay, it feels like everybody on this call disagrees with you. Do you have any quick rebuttal?
Well, yeah, I actually think that they do bring up some really good points because I was unaware that it actually stopped people from replaying each other when it comes to the bottom seed or the bottom bracket. So that's actually something that makes me feel a lot better about it. However, I do want to ask, is there a possibility that TSM or the number 1 seed would still be able to pick their team that they play against, and then the bottom bracket would still purposefully avoid teams that they've already played? Is that a possibility, or is that just not ever on the table?
So I saw.
I think it's.
Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure it's possible if like you are manually doing it, which you can do. But then isn't the team going to complain then, like on the bottom bracket, that you push them into having to play someone that they're already like, this is a tougher matchup. Like, oh, now I don't play the same team again, but I have to play this harder team.
Yeah, it could be possible. Yeah.
Right. Like if EG loses or Dig loses to EG and then beats Golden Guardians and then C9 plays TL, like I don't know. It's possible, but
that's something that's really difficult to go through over just like a 15-minute call.
You're also always going to have something to complain about. Like no system is ever perfect. Everything is a trade-off. The idea that when people, I hate this, when people just like critique formats all the time, like, oh, well, look at this problem that's come up now. It's like every format's going to have a fucking problem.
Well, and you kind of see that in the way I feel like the LCS makes format changes all the time. And I feel like it's always in response to the thing that had happened like the year before. And then the new format comes along and people are like, oh no, this one has a problem. And then they change it again. So it is kind of like whack-a-mole, I feel like sometimes where,
and here's the thing, like even in the chat that the conversation of like, hey, people are saying, hey, it's really hyped that rematch is happening again. Like, you know what I mean? Like the thing that we were avoiding, that's hype. And I would agree with that. But then if you literally at the time, people were complaining of how bullshit, I'm talking about from the fans' perspective, of how bullshit it was because they saw that from the team saying, hey, why are we facing this team again? So it's like, there's always going to be a negative side to this. It's always going to be the case. And so that's why I don't like the slippery slope argument, because we're in terms of making regular season matter so much for the team that's at first, that you give them more and more and more advantages. Then as a fan, I'm watching basically lopsided games for the first place team to get all the way to the finals. And I'm just saying, like, that's the one thing I don't want happening. I'm not saying to go in the opposite direction. I think I've made it very clear that I think this is a good system. The only thing that I would not like about this system, and I've had this conversation with Kami on this one, which is like, even though 8 teams for this system makes it really fucking exciting because you have a lower bracket that we've all wanted, that's 8 teams in a 10-team league. either we had more teams to this to make getting into playoffs worthwhile, or I don't know. Like, that's the one thing I always hate, is because I've always thought getting into playoffs as a challenge in and of itself. And for some teams, of course, it's a challenge. But sure, I get some really fun games in a double bracket, but let's get some more teams in the LCS then.
Bluejay.
While we have Raz here, I don't think I have a call for this. I mean, Bluejay here on this topic. 100 Thieves benching their academy team. Thoughts?
It just sucks as a fan. I don't blame them whatsoever, honestly, for the record. I think they have the right to do whatever the hell they want. But it's like, oh, well, this game that could have meant, well, it did mean a lot, is now it doesn't mean as much because you just know that it's heavily weighted on one side. So I think it sucks for the fans. But if you're 100 Thieves, like, maybe there's some tilt issues because they've been losing a lot lately, right? Maybe, like, I don't know what kind of situation they're in and what's going on, like, behind the scenes with them. So I think it's hard for me to judge. I just know as a fan, it feels kind of bad.
I feel like everyone will forget this in 3 weeks.
Like, the other thing, actually, I'll say too, though, on that is that I think that even if you're C9 and you're pissed, or you're TL and you're pissed, I think those teams would do exactly the same thing if they thought it benefited them. So I don't think they really can say much. I think every single team would do what they think is best for them. And I think that it's up to the people that are running the league to make the rules in the best way so that no one can take advantage.
Didn't C9 do something like this a long time ago? I'm trying to remember. I thought they did something where they subbed in some players towards the end. Maybe it wasn't swapping in their whole academy team or something, but
It's not uncommon, and I feel very strongly that I don't give a fuck. 100 Thieves earn the right to do what they want by getting second seed locked, you know? And it is strategically correct for them to do this because, one, your starters get a day off, go get food. You hide whatever your starters might have played against EG, who you're probably going to play again in playoffs in 2 weeks. And you also get to develop your academy team and put them up against a really good team and see how they perform. Like, there's literally no reason. There's actually no reason you can give me to start my starting roster there. Why would I do that? What is it?
One. Well, just because teams are always talking about how valuable stage games are versus scrims. They say scrims doesn't really teach us that much, where stage does. An extra game could theoretically help.
Your starting squad played 30 games. One more is not going to matter.
So I'm still with you, Mark. I'm in agreement with you, but you said give me one reason, so I did.
Gave you a reason.
all right.
All right. You gave me a toilet bowl reason.
I like
Kamikaze Platypus says that C9 did do this against Clutch, and it was their entire academy team. And I think somebody mentioned they
There you go.
beat Clutch, and I think I recall that as well, which I thought was pretty funny.
Been in this situation on both ends with TSM complaining about not getting reseeding and whether I should bench my team. In 2015 summer, we were playing CLG, last game to decide who gets first place, and we knew TSM was fourth.
You didn't have to add in that detail, Travis. You didn't have to add in the whole they beat Clutch anyways.
Let Mark finish. Let Mark finish.
Okay, sorry, my bad.
I like the shade that he threw in there at the team. And so we talked in the room. We were like, yo, if we beat CLG here, we get first place, which means if TSM wins their match against the 5th seed or whatever, we probably play them. Which is scary because we thought TSM was way better than the regular season record. And you know what we did? We went out there and we gave it our best. And we beat CLG, even though we felt like they were probably trolling a little bit with some of the plays they made. And we beat their ass. And then we drew TSM and we fucking lost in playoffs.
Hey,
so
Bluejay, thank you for the call.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Anything you'd like to say before we go to a quick break?
Yeah. Mark, I just wanted to shout out your casting. It seems like you've kind of revitalized yourself, and I like it. So I think you're doing a good job.
Yeah, I agree. You revitalized yourself. You were kind of decrepit and falling apart, but you revitalized yourself. It's been nice to see. From has been to has now. That's I agree with you, Bluejay.
But yeah, no meme. Honestly, I think you're doing a really good job. So I thought I'd let you know. But thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Goodbye.
Catch you later.
Thank you. You're not gonna give him caller of the night? That was a great call.
Travis can't give it to regulars.
Well, I can give it to regulars. It is harder to give it to Canadians, but because
There's some discrimination right here.
Only because it becomes a lot more difficult to send them a product that is only available in the U.S. But
didn't you give it to somebody in New Zealand?
We've done it before, and I think I have given it to Bluejay as well.
Okay.
But I also just feel like, that's a take that like Santorin and Reddit and a ton of people had. I'm glad he brought it up, but like there was nothing revelatory there, Raz, in his take.
Just saying, people are gonna watch this YouTube video or are just gonna go to this timestamp, and that's it. He's giving you clicks.
Yeah. Well, that's not what drives the Game Fuel call of the night, victory caller. But you know what does drive everything we do at Travis Gafford Industries? Alienware. Thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. One thing that I wanted to mention, and I think they are still available if you're listening to the show right now. I've been telling you all about Alienware Arena, which you can discover by going to alienware.com/Travis. I believe that there's a banner up at the top. I know they're always changing it. Yes, it says join Alienware Arena today. And one thing, and I've been telling you about all the cool stuff you can get there. Well, some of you might be familiar with Back 4 Blood, which is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. I played a ton of Left 4 Dead back in college. And they are giving it. I actually just did this because Not even a thing where like I hit them up or anything like this. I just got an email earlier today that they have Back for Blood beta keys that you can get right now on Alienware Arena, and so it's not even like I had a conversation with them. I just saw the email, clicked it, and got the beta key. I believe they still have some. It's hard for me to tell because I've already claimed it, but no, actually I can see. Yeah, there's still a ton of these available right now. So this is just one example of the cool stuff that you can get for signing up for Alienware Arena, and you can get it right now. You could just go over to alienware.com/Travis. If you're listening to the VOD or watching the VOD or listening to the podcast, I don't know if it's still available. You can go check. But they have all sorts of stuff like this constantly, and it's just completely free to join. And so please sign up for Alienware Arena. Please do so through my link, and maybe you can go check out the Back for Blood open beta right now and just get this free key. But they got a whole bunch of cool stuff there. So keys for DLC keys for different games, access to closed betas, all sorts of really cool stuff. So we love Alienware Arena. And thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring everything we do. And again, this is just a cool way where like you can get access to, you can help support the show even by not necessarily even going out and purchasing an Alienware PC. Maybe you're not in the market yet. But you can sign up for Alienware Arena, and that stuff also helps us out as well. So I went ahead and put a link in the Twitch chat for it. Hopefully you guys can do that. It would be swell. And thank you so much to Alienware for sponsoring the show. Pena in the chat says, cool shirt. Thank you.
He's talking to me!
He says, cool shirt. Oh, he does say at Razzleplasm.
There we go. There we go, Travis.
I got this shirt recently, and I was really excited about it, and
You do have a cool shirt, Travis.
I'm the only
Just
one
whatever.
not wearing a team shirt right now, or team gear. Mark's sitting over there in CLG stuff. Raz is in Golden Guardian stuff.
I was in 100 Thieves stuff, and I changed while you were doing your ad push.
I have
Oh, really?
Cloud9 pants on too,
Yeah.
though. Don't forget.
All right.
We have a caller here, by the
That
way.
was quick. Rob, welcome to the show. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Troy, Michigan.
Troy, Michigan. Have you been on the show before?
I have.
Welcome back. What do you want to talk about on the show?
I want to talk about the broadcast a bit.
Oh, boy.
I'm kind of.
Mark has got surprised eyes to this, but Mark also pulled the call, so I'm very curious
I pulled?
how Mark is surprised by this. Talk about the broadcast. You snuck on. Go ahead, Rob.
So I'm kind of stealing an idea from the LEC, and even the LCS did this a bit. But we should really try and get some pros and coaches on the analyst desk and even in the caster desk for TriCasts. Now that we have teams that are out of playoffs, we can try and get players from those teams. It can help players build their brands. It can make the broadcast more interesting, bring some more analysis and different perspectives, especially from like specific lanes, from specific matchups that these players can bring. And I know we've had some success with this, even with like Cadril. He came on as a guest in the LEC, and now he's one of their best casters. And I think it would just be a great idea to do this season.
Why do you think this is a good idea? Because for me, we throw out half these players every year anyway. So there's a 50-50 chance that whoever we invite onto the broadcast is not even going to be competing in the LCS. Why are we spending time building that brand?
Well, they could continue their brand even on the broadcast if they do a good job. And a lot of these players, they even stick around in amateur and academy, even if they're not in the LCS. So we could even bring players to watch the lower levels.
Remember Peter Dunn talking about trying to save the soul of the LCS? We need to take more 50-50s. Bring these players on, and you hope to God they're still in the LCS next year.
Yes. I think that would be nice. I mean, I was obviously being a little sarcastic with my query, but I think this is cool. You just have to pick the right people. But Broxa, for instance, is a great example of somebody who I would love to see join the broadcast for playoffs for some time, and he's always got amazing wisdom. So
yeah, I think I can answer that, or at least like say my piece on this one. Because one thing that Mark know this one for sure, like there was a good portion of this split where every post game was a player post game, like literally every game, and I think it was like I don't know how many weeks. And we also invited coaches. We had the IMT coach,
Yeah,
as
but I think
well.
you guys bring them on and you just do like an interview with them. He's talking about like making them a guest host for the analyst test.
Well, he's talking about like guest casting as well. Like, so like my thing is finding a player that is, because I love this, and I think I know that the producers would love this too. So there's two things to it. First thing is like having a player that has that interest in like being on the show and being on like desk and all these type of things, and like who is really fucking good in terms of being a communicator. So there's that aspect of it, and so like we're especially with the LCS being with a lot of new players, getting them and like seeing how good they are and how willing they are is one point. And then another thing, and this is just the curse of North America. What does a player do after they're done? I'm asking you, Travis.
They go to academy.
They stream
I was
when
gonna
they're
say,
done playing. They stream. It's more like
Does
I
that
only
still
came in
happen? I feel
recently.
like that doesn't happen. Who streams right now?
Well, before he went back to CLG, DeMonte was streaming.
Yeah, but he was doing that like for. That is not. It's not. You're talking about retirement, right?
Well, I mean, retirement is a quote unquote whether they get back in or not. And another thing is also like I think people who are great communicators, I think right now are like Grayson, who moved into coaching. And for people that don't know, Grayson's Golden Glue. That's what I meant.
His name basis, so I can say his name.
Oh God. Yeah. Golden Glue is a great communicator. And one thing, I can't even speak to the past. Like I literally only fucking came on this year. But like I think that I from what I've heard, there's for sure interest in it. We just need to we're doing the baby steps first of like getting them on the desk more and more. Guest hosting, I mean, that just means that we need to get a player that isn't playing at all.
I think.
And we have what is it? Medios has his literally own show on Sundays, which is, what is the name of that show again?
Next level.
Next
Level.
level.
Perfect.
Weren't you just recently on it?
No, I was not recently on it. Travis, choose your words wisely.
I literally thought you were on it recently. Are you going to be on it soon? I thought they teased you as being on it.
No, I was on it like on week 2 or something, and that was it.
Okay, maybe that was. I haven't watched it in several weeks, and so maybe 2 months is how long it's been since I've watched it. I haven't seen any of the recent episodes.
Because there's another analyst though, also
yes,
that's
I
on
know
your
the
regular.
joke you're trying to make. I'm not confusing you with Kaizen, whereas you guys have incredibly different temperaments.
Okay, I'm just kidding.
That is not. I literally just thought you were on it very recently. Were you on? No, I don't know what you. Oh wait,
I do lane by lane every time. Though.
Masterminds?
No, I wasn't, but I do lane by lane every time. So like that's probably.
I know you're the host of Lane by Lane. I just touched it on next level recently.
Anyways, on topic, I think the idea of getting pro players on the desk is great, and I think, especially given that we have 8 teams in playoffs, as Raz was just lamenting a little bit, that is the perfect testing ground, I think, for a best of 5 cast with a pro player. Maybe don't do them for all the games in case it's like rough or something. You just get them for like a guest for game 2, or something, and make it a try cast for that one game, to get that experience and see how it feels with this player who might, do more of them or something. I feel like that's a pretty safe environment to do it, given that they're usually not like, I mean, they're high stakes games, but they're not usually like the biggest teams in the league. And, that's an area for the casting angle. I think for the desk, it's a lot easier. Like, get fucking Jose Dioto on, like he has a brand, right now he's streaming. He's the 3rd biggest on Twitch right now, or for League of Legends. Like, that's someone who I don't think the North American audience has nearly the exposure to him than his actual fan base has. I know he's streaming in Spanish, but I just mean that, like, I mean, I've talked to him. We've seen him on the broadcast. He speaks English fine. He could do the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I struggle so much with this stuff. Like with Jose Dioto, for instance, it's tough for me. Like, one, I'm not saying I don't think this is a good idea, but I will say, like, part of me feels sad. Because if you told me Jose Dioto does not start for an LCS team next year, I would believe you. If you told me Brox does not start for an LCS team next year, I would believe you. That's not what I want, but it is just a tough situation because we have such insane turnover in the league right now that, like, it's these types of challenges where, like, I agree this is a great opportunity to build the fan base around a player, but I feel like we frequently do this and then, like, they disappear for like a year or more, and all that work is lost. So it's just tough.
finding stability is for sure like the first challenge. After last year too, losing a lot of players. People talk about Double Lift and Bjergsen a lot, but like Smithy is another great example of it. So like, and Sneaky, Sneaky is also having a really strong performance, at least on his streams. So getting those type of players for sure is one thing. But one thing that I do like is getting the opinions of like North American legends like High, right? That's on the desk now. Far
I
more
like
frequently.
that stuff, but I like that stuff, but we do so much content with former pros, you know what I mean? And we do so little content with current pros, which is why
you gotta say yes, Travis, and not worry about if they're out of the league next time. Just say yes. Don't give me the reason why there's a downside to it. Just say yes.
What?
Just say yes. You don't need to tell me that.
Commenting on what Raz said about the High stuff. I like seeing High on the broadcast. I like seeing Sneaky, Medios, and Double.
No, I'm talking about your point before. You were like, oh, well, the problem with bringing Jose on or Brock says they might not be here next year. But
I raise it if only because I think it highlights the next step, which is for us to make sure that there's less turnover in the LCS. I'm saying this is a great idea. I agree with you. But I think it is, if you stop it at this point, if you just say we're going to bring these guys on and you don't talk about the broader picture, which is we need to lower the turnover of players in the LCS, then it is a situation where you are like not solving like the bigger picture. You are just sort of tweaking this one thing that may or may not even have any result. That's why I raised it, because I think a lot of people look at this stuff and the problems that the league is facing, and they see one small specific thing. They go, oh, like we really need to have players do some more interviews, or we really need to have X thing happen. And it's like, for me, sorry, I feel very passionately about this, as you can tell. There's a huge systemic issues with the league right now, which is what's causing it to have historically low viewership. And I really want to make sure that when we do things like, hey, let's make sure we get some of these players on the broadcast desk, that we also think, is it likely that this player is going to continue on in the LCS in the future, or is this like wasted energy? And two, how can we ensure that like players continue to start on teams and we don't have as massive upheaval as we've seen recently?
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of missed the context before, but like what Kami said was what just having a player as a guest throughout the entire day. Yeah, I love that idea. And to your point, if that happens, shit happens. Like it's a good example is like if El Yoya is on the EU desk for a full day, and I'm just saying if that would happen, right? And for whatever reason, because EU has a pretty high turnover rate with their players as well, because they pull in so many players from their EU Masters. And he just doesn't play anymore. Like Maxlore. I don't even know if people actually know if Maxlore was in the league before. And it just doesn't pan out, then shit happens, and one of them would stick. And if one person sticks, that's good enough. Like you've now built a brand.
That's fair. My apologies to Mark and to Raz for the aggressive tone which I took in the previous conversation.
Aggressive tone,
Yelling.
Travis.
Yelling's fun.
Rob?
Try it.
Good idea, Rob. And in fact, as a show of my agreement with this agreement, is agreement's the word? You're gonna get not that one. You're gonna get the Game Fuel Victory Caller of the Night. Thank you so much, Rob.
I'm honored
for your take. You should be. It is a huge honor. Please DM me on Discord to follow up on that. I don't know, Rob, if you have any final thoughts on any of this stuff before I give you your shout out moment.
Yeah, I'm just I'm glad it sparked a good conversation. Some of my favorite moments on the desk were when we got like a leunaM and Cadril, so I'm happy to hear that people are on board.
Yeah, very good. Anything you want to say before we move on to our next caller?
Shout out to Game Fuel and Alienware, of course, and shout out to the Ohio State University Rainbow Six Siege program. They're doing good work there.
I was about to say, because I've heard recently that Ohio State University has a great league program as well. And I was excited, and then you're like, Siege. And I'm like, well, okay, well there we go.
They're doing good work in a lot of games.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rob. We'll catch you next time.
Thank you.
All right.
Next Kala?
Yes. Mark, you're so... Oh, he left. I was going to say, Mark, your facial expressions where you do like these, like the big eye stuff like you just did for next caller, they look so pretty right now with the eyelashes. It's
it up a little bit since I know
it works really well.
It's going to be a long time till the next time I have this on, if ever.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Subrequeator. Illumination, the Noblet for 19 months. Photo LOL, Mr. Mallet, Fishsticks 44 for 2 years. America Vespucci, Blue Frost, Inuber, the Scuba, Dwizzle, Weather Mullet, and Narrow for 42 months. Holy moly. Retro Paint for the 4. Thank you, everybody who subs. It's always very, very nice. I see some people even go back and do it during the stream. Just Bob Danish is here. Just Bob Danish, where are you calling from?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
From where?
Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Albuquerque, New Mexico. Have you called in previously? Because I know we had an Albuquerque caller recently.
No, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Well, glad to have you on. What do you want to talk about on the show?
So I think EG should sweep all 3 awards. Coaching staff member of the year, Peter Dunn, should be joined by Rookie of the Split, Danny, and MVP Impact. Impact has been severely underrated. I think last split he was one of the top 3 top laners. But Alfari was clearly above the other 2. And this split, with that gap of Alfari not being there, he's clearly the best top laner in the league. If you look at kill participation, goal difference by 10, XP per 10, and CST by 10, he just has great stats. And he has the same stats as Alfari, but in more than twice as many games. And so his criticism is that he's this tank player, but he has wins on Viego, Akali, Nocturne, and now he's forcing Renekton plans going into playoffs.
I love the enthusiasm. Oh boy. Okay. So let's break this down one by one. I definitely agree EG is up there in conversation for coaching staff of the split. Who else is in that conversation, Mark? Mark's just enjoying Twitch chat popping up.
I love it. I think realistically only Bjerg and TSM.
Bjerg and TSM. Okay.
I mean, Anero and Golden Guardians have done a great job, but like 10th to 8th just isn't the sexy headline it needs to be.
Yeah.
So I would probably say those are the only 2 teams. I don't know if Raz has another one. I guess 100 Thieves. Yeah. I mean, they did good, but it just feels weird that they started hot then fell apart a little bit. Not fell apart, but started struggling more.
Which 2 teams did you say?
I said EG and TSM are the 2 that are probably actually competing for it, with 100 Thieves being the 3rd on my ballot.
EG, TSM, yeah. EG, TSM, Golden Guardians, Immortals, because it's like one of those things where like most improved at team also kind of plays into it as well. But Immortals last half of summer didn't feel too good, and some of their draft felt like was also pretty didn't make sense for me. But like, so Immortals and Golden Guardians definitely improved as a team quite a bit. I'll say TSM. I'd say TSM.
You think TSM over?
It's between.
Or you're saying including? You're just suggesting it's TSM and EG are the only options.
I think there are 4 options. Once again, I do hate coach of the split because I don't fucking know what's going on.
It's coaching staff. They've brought. To be fair, they have broadened it some.
Yeah, but you still don't know how much of it is the players and how much of it is the actual coaching staff. So like that's why I can say, Golden Guardians and Immortals, because it's very clear like concepts that they were working on and got much better at. So like, okay, this is something that you could very well see like a coaching staff having a hand in. And you could say the same thing for TSM and Evil Geniuses 100%. But that's why I just don't like the award. But if I were to, I always have to say something. I'd do TSM.
Yeah.
I watched TSM's documentary series. Does EG have a documentary series?
Oh God.
How can I evaluate Peter Dunn if behind the scenes I can't see him telling his players they're not good enough?
Was that what Bjerg does in the TSM documentary?
He says, "Don't get excited. We're not good yet."
Okay.
They developed Danny.
Did they develop Danny, or did Danny develop himself?
I will say though, like, yeah, in that context,
I mean,
it's.
Right. I think it's so hard to say.
Mind.
Did Danny develop himself? He's like a 17-year-old that skipped academy. I don't know. Okay, well, let's move on to the rookie part.
They were never going to have that chance if they didn't have both an academy team and an amateur team, which they picked them up from the amateur team. And some LCS teams don't exactly have that. I will say that Golden Guardians is fine that they don't have it because they essentially have like so many goddamn rookies on their academy team that it's essentially an amateur team, and they also run their academy team in amateur events. So it's like okay, like that makes sense. But a lot of teams still were holding out for them.
Well, we were talking about Danny, which leads us to Caller's second point, which is the rookie of the split. And is it okay? I'll propose the same thing. Is it just
Rookie of the
Danny and Olive that are running for that?
It's rookie of the year.
Rookie of the
Rookie
year.
of the
yes.
year, which
Sorry.
you could say either helps or hurts a Blaze Olive's case, because I think, as you're kind of saying there, Travis, it's between those two. A Blaze Olive technically played the whole year, whereas Danny only played a single split.
Yep.
But the first half of the year for Blaze Olive sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But the second half was pretty good.
I will say a lot of the problems for Golden Guardians at the time was definitely jungle top lane and not mid. In fact,
True.
you probably say he was like one of the better of the bins in that team. He was playing decently well. So like it's one of those things where for the full year, I'm still on the fence about it between him and Danny. Danny definitely had an explosive summer, and he was on a damn good team. I don't think he was the best. He was the best on that team because you just literally have both Jizuke and Ignar just hulking out full Jordan. It's like,
Impact, who's supposedly the MVP.
Contracts
Okay.
like the problem with Evil Geniuses is that they have too many players performing. Okay, you don't have that. But to the point is that like I think it's between Olive, who played fine in spring and played insanely well in summer, but played the full year, versus Danny, who definitely played well for a good portion of summer split. It's the Zion versus Ja Morant discussion. Except not so,
That discussion. I always think about that discussion. I'm so glad you brought it up. Mark, you look contemplative with your. I don't know if that's just the eyelashes or if.
I feel like these make me look less angry because I feel like a lot of the times when I space out, you go, Mark, are you okay? Are you mad about something? Here, you think it's contemplative instead of just straight pissed.
Yeah, I think you should wear those every episode. But sorry, continue.
Well, so I was ready to move. Like, I feel like we both said, like, okay, the first two you can argue maybe the EG guys
Gotcha.
have a good, like it's up in the air at least. MVP, Caller, you're fucking trolling. No way. I love Impact. He's great. No way.
Who are your MVP candidates, Mark?
Spica, probably Abadage, and then I would even say Jizuke over
You
Impact.
think Jizuke over Impact? Okay.
Yeah.
It's.
You got a different,
I feel like this is
short list, Raz.
I feel like this is the hardest year to vote for MVP.
Yeah, if we're doing a short list of best players on Evil Geniuses, and this may trigger the fuck out of EG, like it may either they agree with it or trigger them. Is like I think for sure Jizuke is the best player in EG, and then Ignar. Not a lot of people will sing his praises because he's a support player, and player of the match is not going in his direction. But for sure, Ignar was the most consistent and hulking out all season long, and then I'd go Impact. And that's on his own team. And Impact had an insane split and had like that record-breaking game versus Dignitas, goal difference. So like, EG just performed really well. And in terms of my MVP candidates, Spica, Fudge, Jizuke, Abadaga is still on there. Yeah, there are
So it
quite a
sounds
few
like you don't
names.
even think Impact is the best top laner in the league.
No, he's a top. I think he's like top 3. Only because Alfari wasn't playing for a good portion of the split, or ESO. But yeah, here we have
So
it.
if Alfari had been playing the way he's been playing recently for the whole split, you would say Impact is the 4th best top laner in the league.
That's the reality.
Yeah, I haven't placed him on my All-Pro yet, exactly, between Fudge, Huni, and Impact. I agree with leaving Alfari off just with time of games played. But he would be on there. So I don't know who I'd bump, but yeah, it would make it so that there's only 3 options. Someone in chat just to chime in on this. Jizuke gets so many resources. Yeah, if you're a good player, I'm gonna fucking play around you, dude. That's how the game works. I don't want to. Who am I gonna give resources to?
And here's the thing, like there'll be players who get resources. I don't like that as a knock on somebody.
Yeah.
Because like people will say the same shit about caps or perks or something. It's like, well, then did he give you the game? Like, what was the return on investment? Oh, I got a lot of shit back. Okay, perfect.
But couldn't you say
Positive.
the return? Isn't that a good argument for a player who doesn't get very many resources, Raz, by that same thing? Because if the
Exactly.
return on investment is he's helping to get you the game with or he's being very quote unquote
Yes.
impactful with very little resources, then that return on investment is great.
Just so you know, I am an impact stan. I had impact much higher than most people.
Doesn't
in
sound
Spring
like
Split.
it. You want to play some fourth on your
It's
fucking
Spring
crowd?
Split. Look, top lane list is really fucking competitive. All right. In Spring Split, I had him as my top 2, next to Alfari, and no one had him that high. Well, I feel like there were some people, probably Evil Genius members, had him that high, but like, but in Summer Split, I just think that you can't like Fudge is just performing well throughout the entire damn split, and he didn't have a benefit of a good team for the half that split. Half that split, his jungler was running it down, his mid laner was running it down, and that's just the reality of it. They didn't have an AD carry, and he was still performing that well. Like, Fudge was playing well regardless of the situation. He was probably the best Lee Sin on his own team, if not in the league. And then, of course, you have Huni as a conversation, and yeah, and then Impact comes in.
Mark, should we have a quick discussion around Jizuke? I don't know if you have another caller about it, but...
No, not really. I think it's just funny that people saying like, "Oh, return on investment is better on Impact because you invest less and he does stuff still." And it's like, it's much harder to be the superstar of your team than the one that isn't actually played around that much. I would say generally, if you're asked to elevate a team, or if you want to play weak side, like, hey, do you want to play Camille, Fiora, GP, these hard carries? And yeah, to Peter's point, Impact was strong side. He got a lot of resources, actually. I'll double check this real quick in a second. But more theoretically conversing here, like I am much more impressed when someone is like, give me the fucking rock and I'm a carry your ass, than like, I'm gonna stand in the corner, catch the ball when you pass it to me, and hit the open 3. Like, yeah, one's a lot less resource intensive, but I want the guy who I can actually like, give me the game.
Someone in your chat just said, Fudge only played Lee Sin once this split. He played it 6 times. It's literally tied for his most played. Don't tell me, guys. Don't do it. I'm fucking blow up. You want me to blow up on? Actually, they do want me to blow up on you.
They're trying to tilt you, Raz. Don't get baited.
They're trying to blow. All right. They're trying to make you blow up.
To Peter's point as well about Impact playing, not even being weak side of the split, I agree. He's at 4th in jungle proximity behind Huni, Licorice, and Alfari. So yeah, he plays like he spam picks Renekton and other like strong side, and they invade and they control and they play really fucking aggro. And
that's a great point, Peter. Impact gets all these resources and yet still is not able to do much with it. You know what? Peter just helped me realize Impact not the star. Doesn't deserve it.
But Impact is really good. But honestly, look, here's the thing. Impact is playing really well. If I see someone voting Impact as MVP at the end of the year, I'll be like, I would love to have a conversation with them because they have a defense. I would for sure. That wouldn't be on my vote. But like if someone else did it, it's like, okay, that's defendable. That's why I'm going back to the statement I made at the very beginning of the show, which is I can't wait for those ballots to come out because you always get some wild ass ballot from somebody.
I just feel like this. Okay, you'll get obviously, like you said, the Jose Dioto best jungler ever thing, but
someone had Raze as the third best AD carry. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
I think it's gonna be really messy this year. I think just because the league has been messy. It's not just like just vote for Cloud9 for everything because they are undefeated. Almost undefeated. Excuse me, justbobdanish. It sounds like these guys disagree with a lot of your takes. I don't know if you have any lessons you want to instill upon them.
So I think it's just hard for a tank player to win MVP in Mark's world, and that's fine. I think Impact does a really good job of taking his lead and letting the rest
like Renekton and Viego and Gnar and Wukong and Nocturne and Akali. Dude, many tanks up there in the top lane right now. He played one Ornn game. You know what? You're right. That one Ornn game.
Let the caller talk.
But let him talk. He takes his advantage and wins his team the game, and I think that's where I think he deserves credit.
Yeah, fuck you, Mark.
This call was such like chaotic energy. We're just responding to Twitch chat half the time.
Yeah,
we're not
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
I'm sorry.
yeah, dude, we're all over the place. Sorry, caller.
Well, I have one tangent about, unless Bob Danish, I don't know if you have anything else you want to follow up on. Otherwise, I have one final tangent for us.
If Mark does want to see where Peter Dunn shows his clear vision for EG, you can just watch interviews by this interviewer, Travis Gafford. They're pretty good.
Yeah, caller, let me tell you. Like I said, you swung for 3 fences. I don't know how to put this. You took 3 shots. 2 of them might go in. 1 is definitely an air ball for me.
Okay, the last thing that we kind of started to touch on, and I want to just go back to really quickly. Jizuke. This is a player who, you know, if you're reading Reddit, if you're ever looking at Twitch chats, people say he's just inting, he's a coin flipper. There's all this stuff from like 2020 that has sort of pervaded the 2021 stuff. So I would love to hear from Mark and Raz. Do you think what do you think of him? Is he a coin flipper? Is he still inting? Is Twitch chat in any way right on this stuff? Are they way off base? I mean, what should the accurate picture of Jizuke be?
I'll start first with this one. I think whenever people take this terminology, it's usually picked up from a justified game or a slew of games. Like in the first week or 2 weeks that he had some coin flip moments, and it was like stemming from, of course, the previous splits as well. And so like that statement comes, but he was still like hulking out. And I got to stop saying that. He still is like doing incredibly well in the first 10 minutes of the game in laning phase. And then the rest of the split, he was just playing really well. So, of course, like if I'm at the end of the split looking back, I was like, hell no, he wasn't a coin flipper. He was a really good player. In fact, a consistent player. But if you were to ask week 2 Raz or week 3 Raz, I'd be like, yeah, he was coin flipping.
So there should not. But nowadays, he's not. You don't believe that he's playing in that manner.
Hell no, he's not. And
Okay.
and a lot of it comes down to the fact that I think the team is just better as a whole. So.
Yeah, I think like we talk about how public perception sometimes lags behind reality. Even for analysts, you know, like, oh, this guy had 2 bad weekends. First good weekend, oh well, okay, he played a little bit better, you know. And then second good weekend, like, oh yeah, okay, maybe he's a little bit better. And then like third good weekend, then maybe you're like, oh wait, he's actually playing well. But technically, he's been playing well since week 3. And so I think that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
public perception definitely happens, even happens to us too. And so Jizuke basically, since like Raz is saying, week 2, which is 7 out of 9 weeks, he's been playing real fucking good. And he plays a different way than a lot of people in the league. He's super aggro. He wants to actually get every advantage that he sees and will force the issue. You know, he's very proactive. I think one thing EG did was have a pretty narrow champion pool for a lot of their positions, which helped. I think they did less experimentation than some of the other teams. But to their credit, like they know what they want to do, and they seem to have plenty of picks to get it done. So I think EG is the real deal, and it has stemmed off catering the team towards Jizuke more than changing Jizuke to meet the team. You know, like I don't think there's really that much of a halfway. If you look at EG in spring, I don't think like decision wise, I think they're smarter. I think their macro is better. But in terms of like the play style and the fights that they were picking, I think it's very similar, and the rest of the team has just gotten more on the same page.
Is it likely? Because it sounds to me like, and from what everybody said, it is unlikely we would see EG play this style if it wasn't Jizuke sort of pushing it so frequently.
I'm not going to vote for him for MVP.
But
probably
you're spoiling. You're
maybe spoiling. I don't know. At least in terms of my first vote, I don't think so. But what I'll say is I cannot imagine swapping Jizuke with any player in the league and having EG retain their playstyle.
Well, there you go. So he deserves more than the community seems to give him. As it seems to be both of your stances.
This person you can put is probably honestly a Blaze Olive, right? Like who's the closest player in playstyle to Jizuke that you can put in right now? Maybe Perks. Perks is a decent option, I guess.
Perks would be a decent option. You'd have to throw a few millies his direction.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. People in chat now spamming a million different people. Okay, Bob Danish, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we go on to our next caller?
Shout out to the boys of the TS is Down Discord server. Thanks for having me.
Shout out to the boys. Thank you, Bob Danish. Catch you next time. Okay.
Are we leaving Core JJ out of the conversation? I mean, just wasn't the best in the first 5 or so weeks because the team was having problems. So
yeah,
think
is there anybody? Do you guys think anybody from TL is in any conversation for anything?
No.
Maybe some like third or second all pros if I really thought about it.
Yeah.
Like I think Tactical and Core JJ might end up on a list for me.
Yeah. If we're just talking about thirds, for sure. But if we're like having a conversation about like the others' individualistic awards, then they're not on the list.
Yeah.
All right. Mark is off to grab the next caller. Thank you to Retro Paint and Ankit Pancakes for the subs. If you're watching the show right now and you have a Prime sub that is available, it would be super swell if you sent that my way, because it costs you nothing. I mean, I guess it costs you the subscription, but like, it's kind of built into something.
Yep.
You're not going to spend money in this moment. And it is very helpful to the stream. It is shockingly helpful. And I shout out your name at some point in time. And I would love it if you would hook it up.
We have a lot of great supports this season. Like Kuhi, I've already said the Evil Genius support multiple times. So like,
but no supports as supporting as those that send a Prime sub to my Twitch channel.
You guys can all be great supports.
Luna is here. Is that how you say your name?
Yeah, that's fine, I guess.
Is it Manuel spelled backwards?
Yeah, it's my name backwards.
Okay, so should I just call you Manuel?
Yeah.
Okay, Manuel, where are you calling from?
I'm currently in Colombia.
Colombia. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, what do you want to talk about on the show?
Well, it's kind of a repeated take, I guess, but I'm going to talk about how Fudge and Spica should be the MVP frontrunners this year.
Fudge and Spica should be the MVP frontrunners. You're saying 1 and 2.
Yeah.
What between the two of them, do you have a
Fudge by far. I mean, I'm probably gonna talk like 90% about Fudge, even though it's kind of samey from the last call, I guess.
Okay. By the way, are you a C9 fan?
I guess I'm a Perks fan, even though he's playing kind of like shit. But
happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait. Fucking Bob Danish lied to me what I pulled him for. I got so confused. I was like, man, I could have sworn I pulled 2 people to talk about the matchups coming up, and I thought Manuel was one of them. It's because Bob Danish's take in Discord is EG will go up 2-0, then push the meta and go to 2-2, and then close it out 3-2. That's what I fucking pulled him for. And he just goes off about MVP stuff, and then Manuel was supposed to be
a take from Bob Danish at 7:33 p.m.
Run, Bob
Danish! Sweep,
7:57.
Split MVP.
7:57. After I said, hey, any predictions for this weekend? And then I pulled him. This motherfucker jacked the topic that he actually wanted.
Well, it sounds like he had
screwed over Manuel.
Maybe 2. Bob Danish, I don't blame you. Sounds like there was some confusion. I apologize for Mark's hostility.
Also, run from him.
And Manuel, I'm sorry that Mark started screaming obscenities, literal obscenities, in the middle of your explanation. We try to run a professional show here, and sometimes, it just goes a little off the rails.
How are we going to punish Mark?
Why don't you continue? Mark is already punished. He's wearing...
and me. I'll leave.
Goofy stuff. Manuel, please continue. Why do you think Fudge and Spica should be the frontrunners for MVP?
Okay, so Fudge. I think overall he's one of the laners that has been in the worst possible situation in the league amongst the top teams. I mean, C9 has been a huge mess. I guess TL has also been kind of shaky, but I mean, C9 ever since the beginning with the Svan whole thing, and Blabber and Pigs have been kind of coin flipping and running it down for most of the time. So I've been looking at stats, and Fudge has gotten a 26% counter pick rate, which is the lowest amongst any top laner in the league. He just gets any champion he can first rotation, and this is mainly because he can play essentially anything. he's top of the league in kills, lowest deaths, highest CS per minute. He's just insane at getting resources by himself. Probably, we can talk surely about him getting resources in game, not in draft. With yeah.
No, sorry, continue.
Yeah, with Blabber coming fairly often top lane, or Vulcan coming sometimes. But the thing is, every time Fudge can get a bit of help top lane, mainly from his just immaculate lane manipulation, leads to him getting huge leads post 15 minutes and just getting tons of kills and getting C9 to win some of those, I guess, kind of few games they won in the summer split. Yeah, so we have Fudge playing carry champions like Lee, Viego, Gwen. He can play essentially anything. We haven't seen Fudge getting exploited for any of his
Okay, give me Spica.
Pool. I mean Spica overall. I guess let's look at Spica. I think he's probably like the hot player in the hottest team right now. Some people say EG. I think TSM has been playing the cleanest League of Legends in the league. Less coin flippy. He has never been a liability for TSM. I think Fudge. Spica has just carried any game he can. He's never brought any problems to TSM. Helps his lanes get ahead. Overall, this is the best jungler in the league right now.
I feel like your argument for Spica is a lot weaker than your argument for Fudge. Like with Fudge, you're like, here's all the stats. With Spica, you're like, he doesn't ever make TSM lose the game. Like
also had a Freudian slip and said this is why Fudge is, and he's like, oh shit, Spica.
Okay. Yeah, that's might be. At the beginning of the show, you said you wanted to talk top laner, so I did a ton of research on
that's
Fudge,
fair, that's
and
fair.
then previous caller kind of fucked me. So
I support this guy. I literally have the same damn take as him, which is I think I'm Hoblin is like chew this guy out. I was like, wait a minute, no, I actually I agree with him.
You think Fudge should win MVP, Raz?
I would lean toward. I'm not gonna fucking look. You can when the sheet comes out
on the voting.
I'm not
right?
spoiling on the voting.
Okay, but would Fudge be among your highest candidates?
Yeah, Fudge and Spica are both of my one of my higher candidates. So like he just named two people who I was like, yep, makes sense. I was like, I don't even need to hear his defense at that point because I'm like, you know what, same wavelength. I'm with you there, Captain.
I'll give you a nice little stat to throw in there too about resources. It sounds like people think that Fudge is heavily played around in game. He's not. He's actually one of the lowest jungle proximity top laners in the league.
Here's the thing. Oh, sorry. Keep going.
No, I was going to say that he's at 8.8% jungle proximity compared to Hooney's at 13.1, Licorice 12.1, Alfari 12.1. He's basically the bottom of the table down there with Solo and Jenkins. In terms of active players, he's the least played around top laner in the league. Because, as they said, his minion wave management is actually really good. You never need to fix his wave. I don't remember times where the jungler needs to hover and like escort a wave in to help him and just like watch nothing happen because the wave's not in a great spot. So yeah, I actually think in-game resources he's pretty, as people were saying, good return on investment.
Yep.
Yeah, if I could say two things is that I think a couple times people have mentioned how Vulcan tends to go a lot top lane, but I think it's just been like dives top lane, which is just like a regular play, not necessarily like that much resources invested in him. So that's why like it, I guess.
Yeah, they put in a lot of resources in the opposite side of the map, and so like to your point, when you said like carry champions like Lee Sin and all that, that's actually like their safe pick where you're like don't you'll still be very useful as the game goes on. Like that's just them picking this champion because A, it's a flex, but B, it's like a safe blind pick that they can go for. So like he's actually not taking up draft resources at all. Like I don't remember. I'm sure it's happened more recently, but more often than not, he is blind picking. So it's one of those things where, yeah, for sure, Fudge and Spica both are pretty high. I also do think that people are stepping on the 100 Thieves players because they were also MIA for the last 2 weeks of the split. Mostly like Abadaga. I think Abadaga is just for sure should be in the conversation, and it would be a shame if he just didn't get any votes. because he is. I would say that he's my best mid right now, next to Poe. So, and in terms of just like full split, which this award is about, yeah.
Mark, are there any reasons why Fudge shouldn't get MVP?
Yeah, because there's better options. I don't have anything negative. I don't really have much, I should say, negative to say about Fudge. It's more that I think there are other options.
Well, there you go.
All right, here's a non-spoiler thing that I'll put out there. Spica would be a little higher than for me. And there we go.
A little higher than Fudge?
Yeah.
You think more Fudge than Spica? Sorry, more Spica than Fudge.
Yeah, more Spica than Fudge. But like, yeah.
Why?
I mean, he's the main. I mean, they put in resources to him. The return on investment's like insanely good. I don't remember a bad game that he's had throughout the split. Like even going back to it, because now I have the benefit of literally going back to the first like 5 weeks of the split and watching it through. And a lot of TSM's success has been through him. Some through top lane, but I think that there's a larger load for Spica to carry as well on TSM. So
larger than C9?
I'm not comparing it to him. I'm saying that I'm not comparing it to Fudge because I've already said multiple times that Fudge has had a lot to carry. But I think the impact that Spica had throughout the split was just a little better.
It sounds like you're saying, sorry, really quickly, just to clarify. Are you saying TSM is heavier for Spica than C9?
No, I just said no to that.
Okay.
I just said no to that.
Okay.
I literally just said no to that. You're making it more confusing.
Rez, that's why I asked for clarification because I misunderstood. So there was a request for clarification. I'm glad you were able to clarify for me. Thank you.
All right. Shall we continue the show?
Spica good. Yeah.
Spica and Fudge good, apparently. Okay.
Yeah, I mean both are good. Yeah.
Spica good.
That's why
Mark, can I ask you if you would rank Spica over Fudge or Fudge over Spica?
Odd God, Spica be straight bussin', no kizzy.
There you go. I think that really sums it up. Manuel, what do you want to say before we take a quick break?
Yeah, Fudge good, Spica good. They're really good.
Great shout outs. Thank you very well, Manuel, for the call, and we'll catch you next time.
All right, later.
See ya.
I feel bad for Emmanuel because he did just come immediately after an already like discussion that we had on the MVP votes. So he had to double down on the votes, and on top of that, in my opinion, he had a cold take.
This is the episode. This is the episode that everybody's going to be talking about MVP stuff. I don't think it's bad to have back-to-back MVP conversations.
I don't think it's bad. I just feel bad for him because, like, when I poll people, I generally remember, like, what topics I've polled already, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I go into the waiting room and I'm like, hey, you're up next. What's your topic? I don't remember exactly because there's, like, 6 people and I'm doing the whole show, you know? I don't remember which topic aligns with which person. So I'm like, I know I have an MVP topic in here. And so when the first person goes, I'm talking about Jizuke or Impact for MVP, I was like, oh, I guess this is my MVP take. And then it wasn't, and I just got bamboozled by the first guy, and then the second guy is like, wait, it was my topic, and now I'm screwed. And I'm like, yeah, my bad.
Listen, it wouldn't be... This show's all about chaos. You know, we embrace it here on Hotline League.
We'll run show, you'd watch something else.
And you know what else we embrace? Mountain Dew Game Fuel. A delicious beverage that you can find at gamefuel.com/Travis. And if you use code Travis... you'll save 5% on your order, which is fantastic. This is the Charged Orange Storm flavor. There's a variety of different flavors which you may be interested in trying, including a Mountain Dew flavor if you like Mountain Dew. But there's something, I believe, for everyone. And by going over to gamefuel.com/Travis, and ordering a case, you're going to help continue this show. Because... while Mark might say that he treats the show, this is, I think, in the pre-show conversation, but Mark might say that he treats the show like friendship. I still have to pay him to appear on this show, you know. So there is a business aspect to it, and in order to compensate him, I get revenue from sponsors like Mountain Dew Game Fuel, and then once every 8 months, once the amount has accrued to a point where it's financially disastrous to me, he sends me an invoice that is literally so much that I can't send it, and I have to send it in multiple transactions. And I couldn't pay him if it wasn't for Mountain Dew Game Fuel. This is one of the more unique shows, ones that I've done.
We talking 6 figures? We talking 7 figures? How much you making, Mark?
There are limits that financial institutions put on certain transactions, and I would say that Mark builds it to a
frauded
point
right now
where it's
my guest is making too much.
I just wish you sent me an invoice more often. Anyway, it was sorry. This sponsor plug is getting a little personal. I'm going into areas that I shouldn't be. Let's get back to the product, which is Mountain Dew Game Fuel, Victory in a can. Go grab some. It's I love it. It tastes great. By the way, only 90 calories, which is going to be far. And that's if you want a 0-calorie version, they have that as well. But and that's what Mark drinks. But if you are more rotund like me, no. Regardless, if you're looking for an energy beverage that is lower on the calorie count and maybe still in the regular version, you can get that only 90 calories on the Game Fuel beverage. So thank you so much to Mountain Dew Game Fuel for sponsoring the show. And please go purchase some and use code Travis so that I can afford to pay Mark Zimmerman the money that he demands from me. Raz has now left, and we miss him so much.
To get the next caller, too.
What is his signature? What are the signatures that he has on his chair? I don't know.
What signatures?
Do you see? It looks like signatures right around the thing. Raz, are those signatures on your chair?
Those are flames.
Are those signature? Or did people sign your chair?
Oh, they're the flames. They're flames.
Okay, they are flames. Yeah. Okay, sorry.
I was like, damn, did I not know something about this? I would be selling it instantly.
It looks like silver Sharpie. That's why I was confused. Okay. Thank you to Flyweight, Stealth Black LOL, Chovy. Wow, Chovy swapping with the show. That's great. B Crow Twitch, Landshark Mora for gifting 5 subs. Very generous of them. And Smoke Dog for the 27 months.
Wait, who told me to take my glasses off? Then I can't see. It's not that bad, but it'd be a little blurrier.
Freezy is here. Freezy, where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from Fairfax, Virginia.
Fairfax, Virginia. What do you want to talk about on the show?
Yeah, so my take was I think that this weekend, I think Team Liquid is going to beat Cloud9. I think there's a few reasons for that. The main one being that they're going to have an extra week of scrims with the full team, most importantly Santorin joining after his extended break. I watched the interview you did, Travis. Kind of influenced this take a bit, but I already kind of felt that. But this kind of helped secure that, I guess.
Well, I'm very curious why. I know people earlier were flaming me for saying very curious all the time. I'm very curious why you have more confidence in them, because we just saw them yesterday play each other, and Cloud9 beat Team Liquid.
For sure, and I think so. Considering that this was Santorin's first weekend back, he'd only had 1 week of scrims with the team. Even with the game, that Core JJ played worse than usual. I still think he played well, but is not his close to MVP self. I think he had one of his more off games. Tactical looked fine. He got caught out once in mid-game. And considering all of that, it was still a really close game. And Team Liquid had a lot of chances to win that game. Cloud9 came out ahead, and they deserved to win that game. But that plus a couple other points, including I think Alfari is better than Fudge pretty solidly. I thought Alfari got robbed of MVP last split, in my personal opinion. I'm pretty high on him just as a player. I think he can 1v9 any game that he's placed into as the top laner more consistently. So I think that's a big part of it as well.
I like this take.
Raz, you like this, but you're a big Fudge stan.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said somewhere, I don't remember where I said it, that I had Cloud9 winning. But that's because, once again, Cloud9 and TL, we actually just don't know what they're going to look like when they actually get to the best of 5, because both of these teams have like improved pretty drastically. TL a little bit more so because they literally just got Santorin in the final week. So, and then they stomped in their first 2 games, one versus IMT and another one versus Evil Geniuses. And like, I have a lot of stock into those games, because even when Santorin came in, was it Santorin that made that team better? I mean, Tactical and Core JJ literally popped off in those 2 games, and in the Lulu game, Jensen literally got camped consistently, but played really well around it. And then Alfari played like the team just looked like they were online. And so, is it far-fetched for me to think that TL will come into that series and win that series and actually be much better, like go back to Spring Split finals performance? Like, yeah, it can happen. Do I think that's going to happen? Right now, I would say no, because I've had too much faith throughout all Split Long on both Cloud9 and TL, and I've lost prediction votes for the faith that like, yeah, they'll come back and perform. And I'm putting my foot down now. Well, the better team is going to win, god damn it.
Raz, you said TL can come back to Spring Split Finals performance. In Spring Split Finals, they lost to C9.
Yeah, I know. But at least the team around them... Oh, you lost? I mean, I was mostly talking about with the intended roster. Because at that finals, they didn't even have their intended roster, right? They had Armeo on that one. So, like, the fact that they even got there is impressive enough. And they can get to that point. They just have very little time to do it.
Yeah, if I could add one part on top of that, I think that I never really said that they're going to, get back to spring finals level. But the reason I don't think they're going to get there, either one, is because the short amount of time with their full roster. Yep. And also because I don't think they need to get there. Cloud9 isn't where they were in spring finals. No, I don't think a lot of people are, I don't think a lot of people are expecting Cloud9 to win finals. Maybe get finals, but I don't think it's the majority opinion that they're not the number 1 seed. They've definitely not playing as well. Perks especially, kind of underperforming to where he was on the G2, G2 days. So I think with a combination of this extra week of scrims with Santorin, again, this is a personal take, but I think Alfari is extremely good, better than Fudge. I think Perks and Jensen this split are about even. Perks a little bit better. Tactical, I think, has quietly been extremely solid this split. He's probably my 3rd or 2nd best AD carry in the league. Core JJ is Core JJ. If he doesn't play off, he's going to play amazing. So I think combining all that with C9 not as being good in spring, I think I really can see Team Liquid winning the series.
Here's the worst thing about this. Oh, yeah, Mark hasn't, I guess, said his point. But, like, the worst thing about this is that Jensen in this split hasn't performed that well. And
I agree.
And also, well, there's that aspect of it, and then there's also the aspect of, like, Tactical and Core JJ also haven't had, like, a strong performance this split. I don't know about, like, yeah, anyways. But all that doesn't really matter. Like, the first 7 weeks of this split, or I'll say 6 weeks of the split, doesn't really matter to the recent discussion about how will they look in playoffs. So I have no fucking clue. At the moment, I'm leaning towards Cloud9 because they literally looked better in week 9 in that game, and they're I like the play style that they have a lot more than I would, let's say, Team Liquid. So it's one of those things where I would say right now that's where they are in terms of rate of improvement. What you're hitting on, I would say I would still go Cloud9. So it's hard. I'm still going in that direction.
Well, I think what's interesting is, Mark hasn't said his take yet. But anyway, what I guess I'd say is interesting is that Team Liquid has only scrimmed with Santorin for 4 days before they got into their last weekend's game. So I thought it's interesting because they definitely have perhaps further they can progress. Even though it's still only 1 more week, they'll have literally twice as many scrims with Santorin to be getting into a better place. Oh, Mark, go ahead. Sorry, I know you were going to say something.
No, I think this is good. We can say bye to Freezy and just end the show.
One more thing I want to say.
That's fair. No, it's fair.
No, here's what I'll say. I'm on the Cloud9 train. I did the dive. Sounds like everyone's on the Cloud9 train. I was one of the least certain about it. I said 3-2 Cloud9. Yeah. I think I agree with some of the points about like individual players on Team Liquid in multiple positions, you could say, playing better. Like the bot lane. I think Vulcan might actually be a little bit better than Core JJ. The split's close, but I think Tactical's been better than Sven. Top lane Fudge has been playing longer. Alfari when he's on form is kind of nuts, but it's mostly laning. Fudge, you could say, is better like team play stuff. I don't know. It's very, very close. And I'm not quite on the full, like, Team Liquid hasn't beaten a top team yet this split argument, which you hear a lot, because they've only played 4 games with their actual starting roster out of, what was it, 35, 30, 36? Can't do math. 3 round robins, 9 games, 27, whatever the fuck. Anyways, they've hardly played with their starting rosters, like one of the least rosters they actually play with. But equally, you can't just ignore the fact that they haven't started many fucking games together. They haven't actually played that much together. So, like, they don't have, like, the same synergy that, like, even though C9's struggling and doing some weird stuff too, you know, it's not like they're in TL Liquid has, like, a ton of practice together. So, for me, I think it's really close. I think it really depends on also what C9 shows up. You know, are they going to also have a playoff buff because they are another team that's not playing at their peak right now? So I just don't think there's any fucking way to seriously predict this game.
Well, there you go. Freezy.
Yep. I basically I think it's definitely really hard to predict. I'm just kind of shocked that no one is voting for TL. Like everything I've seen on Twitter, Reddit, you know, Twitch streams, everybody thinks Cloud9 is going to win, and it seems like it's a slam dunk for them. I completely disagree with that. I think that we've seen what TL can do. We've seen what Cloud9 can do. I think TL is going to come out ahead, but I really do think it's a toss up, and I don't think it's such a slam dunk everybody's making it out to be.
Is if TL doesn't make it to Worlds, there will be no Liquid update. Avli's in the chat right now. She's sad about it.
True.
Yeah.
You love the Liquid update. It was a good time.
Hey,
it was a good
Freezy,
time. Shit, it'll come back.
Freezy, thank you so much for the call. Anything you want to shout out before we wrap up the show?
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate your guys' time. Santorin was right. It was disrespectful, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, okay. You're just dropping that one and leaving. I'll catch you later. Thanks, Freezy. All right. That is the show. Mark Zimmerman, what do you got for us? These expressions are so great.
Watch the dive tomorrow to see why I look like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you should always look like it. It's a good look. Anything else, Mark?
No.
You should also. Oh, it's still Mark. Are you sure, Mark?
It's you. It's all you, buddy. Take it
Sure,
away.
Mark, are you sure? All right. You know how it is, guys. LCS playoffs. You can catch me there. Also, Twitter. You can catch me there only sometimes because sometimes I also get hit by the DMCA police. And also, another thing. This or that. Just for this week.
You're on this or that.
Yeah. So, like, Kobe was on vacay. It is what it is, guys. So, you know, it's the Razzleplasm's got to come in and do his part for the team. So, watch that when it comes out. That's about it. I would plug my Twitch stream, but I just don't stream anymore. And people who are still subscribed to me, I apologize.
Shout out to Raz for helping me and Vienna last week with a sponsored stream. That was very nice of him. Thank you, Raz, and thank you for always coming on the show. I did like 10 interviews this past week, and so there's going to be a ton of stuff dropping on the channel. In fact, don't leave the stream yet because I'm going to be airing some of those interviews on the stream right after this just for fun, kind of show stuff off. And we won't even do, for at least the first one, I'll give you guys a freebie. We won't even do a sub goal. Also, shout out to Cycle of Gland, which is a book series that I've been reading a lot of lately. I'm back into reading. So maybe we'll see something hitting the book channel soon. I know I've been saying that for 7 months or so, but it's been good to do some reading. But yeah, stick around afterwards. Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Raz.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we air the show.
Thank you. Yeah.
Every 7. Did Mark just say thank you to me?
I got caught up in a moment. Raz said it, so I said it, and then I was like, "What am I saying?"
Yeah, I felt that was. I was a little uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. We air the show every 7 p.m. Pacific on Mondays, so be sure to tune in. We love having everybody in the Twitch chat. Everyone in Twitch chat's so nice and supportive and never rude or disparaging. And it's also available as a podcast on Spotify and other inferior podcast platforms. Not all influenced by the fact that I have a Spotify original. Anyway, that's been Hotline League. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch you next week.